Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us here today to share your experiences in driving technology at Qantas.
No
You know,
problem.
obviously, technology is just changing our business landscape. Can you talk a little bit about how technology helps you drive business growth at Qantas?
Sure. So I think technology is important in any business in around the world, and most businesses are now looking towards technology and how they can grow their businesses. I think that within airlines, it's even more so apparent with what's going on in this industry with rising fuel costs and other pressures that we do have. We're buying aircraft that our competitors are buying. We're using the same airports our competitors are using. So where we see differentiation is through the customer experience, and that digital customer experience is so important at the moment. So technology plays a huge part in that, whether it's how the customer prepares for their trips, how their booking experience is, what their pre-booking experience is or pre-flight experience, right through to the in-flight entertainment and loyalty experience. So as an organization, we're looking towards technology to see how we can make a difference to grow the business even further.
And how do you get your team to partner with your business on those initiatives to drive the customer experience?
I think it's a good question because where we lead from a technology lens is to kind of two parts of it. First of all, how can technology play a part in what the business is trying to achieve, but also to, I guess, stimulate or motivate the business to think outside of their normal bounds when you start to introduce technology. So within Qantas and my team at Qantas, we have a lot of the, I guess, the emerging technologies that we need to think about, technology innovation that we need to think about, and we engage in different parts of the business to see how we can help them achieve their goals and what they're after in the business areas that they represent.
Now, talking about innovation, so what shape does that take at Qantas? Do you have partners? Do you look at startups? What is your approach
Yeah, a
to?
little bit of everything actually. Qantas is 98-year-old business. We've got innovation in our DNA. A little known fact is, Qantas invented business class travel, so many
Ah,
years ago. So,
didn't know that.
we have innovation is really important to us. So we're always looking at, thinking outside the box. And as an organisation, we've embedded innovation in many different parts of the organisation, not just in technology, but in technology. We're always looking at, what's emerging, what technologies are interesting, and how they can impact us. So we're looking at everything from obviously AI and machine learning, Internet of Things, but all the way out to even quantum computing. They're interesting technologies that we see coming in the future.
Right. And so, from an AI ML standpoint, what is there an example that you could share with us about something that was impactful in that space? So many people are interested in trying to find the right solutions for leveraging AI and ML.
Yeah, AI and ML is such a hot topic at the moment, obviously. We've been looking at in many different areas, but I think some of the more interesting ones are around our engineering and operations part of the business. One of the challenges we have at the moment is the rising oil costs, so therefore the impact of fuel on our business. We're basically going to see an increase of $800 million to our fuel costs this year, which is significant considering we reported a $1.6 billion profit last year, wiping out half our profit just in rising fuel costs. So what we're looking towards is advanced analytics, or what we can do with some of the artificial intelligence by looking at how we utilize fuel, the data that comes from that, how we fly our aircraft, what kind of, different data points we can explore and then experiment to see where the optimizations might lie. Even the smallest optimizations will move the dial significantly for us.
Can you say a little bit about things that you have underway
Yeah.
in the data space?
Sure. I think, as we were talking about fuel, that's
Yeah.
a big part of that is the data that we collect around our fuel usage and how we're utilizing that data. But apart from that, we've got lots of data that we're actually getting from our aircraft, for instance, and that is growing exponentially. So, the new 787 Dreamliners that we introduced in the service last year, every time they land, we extract half a terabyte of data off the aircraft, which is a lot,
Yeah.
but that is growing exponentially. The next generation of aircraft we get delivery of are going to give us a petabyte of data every time they land, just from the engines. So
Wow.
it's like a 2,000 time increase, and It's something that you just can't do with traditional strategies around data. So we're leveraging the ideas adopted around data lakes, and obviously working with AWS around that. So building out our data lakes and actually using a much more experimental view of how we can look at the data and what insights we extract from that data. So whether it's predictive maintenance type use cases where we can predict failures of components on our aircraft more accurately and sooner, and therefore have even a safer airline, or even if, like I said, around the fuel or other operational benefits that we collect around data.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Now, you spoke earlier about customer experience. And so does data play into these improvements that you're making and your focus on customer experience as
Yes,
well?
yeah, of course. One of the things around data, well, a couple of examples. I think one of them is around personalization. People don't like to be bombarded with messaging and marketing and offers, but will, I guess, react much more favorably if it feels more personalized towards them. So we're doing a lot of work around understanding our customers and breaking away from segmentation, but have segments of the individual, segments of one, and using all the data we're collecting around that customer, whether it's the previous trips or what kind of behaviors they have on our website, etc. And because of that, we have a really strong data governance and security that policies that we're applying across the top. And it's probably one of our number one priorities at the moment, is making sure we protect that data quite accurately. So there's a lot in that space. The other example is helping with flight disruptions. Customers don't like when they're disrupted.
No, we don't.
Flight cancellations, bad weather, etc. So we're using a lot of data points and trying to predict those events much more accurately. Everything from weather to, whether it's a maintenance or engineering issue or scheduling issue, and therefore how can we accommodate the customers much more, much more towards their liking.
Yeah. Now, could you say a little bit more about data security? You raised that, and that certainly is top of mind for most CIOs.
Yes, yeah. Well, look, data absolutely. When it comes to personal data, it's one of our number one priorities. We're looking across the whole organisation how we protect that data. We've implemented a lot of processes around obfuscating and anonymising that data to make sure that it's very controlled. And this has been a program that's going on within our organisation for over a year now around the governance of that data and protection of that data, and it's an ongoing program. So it's something that I think that, which is quite important, is from the CEO down. This is not an IT-driven initiative. This is actually a business-driven initiative. And we in IT and technology need to make sure that the systems that we're utilising are applying those governance principles and making sure we're protecting the customer's data.
Now, are you finding that the role of IT is changing with your business partners? Is that an elevation? One, data security is an aspect that brings IT to the table as a topic of discussion, maybe not always the most positive topic of discussion. But do you find that changing in the boardroom and operating committee of your
It is a different
organization?
conversation, right? Because we're moving away from thinking about the commodity of technology, and it's become true commodity. Cloud is a really good example of that. We talk less about data centers and the hardware that sits in that data centers.
Right.
We're thinking about the workloads that sit on top of that inside a cloud. So I think the conversations that we're having, whether it's around protection of our data or how we can optimize what we're doing from a technology perspective, it's a different conversation, and it's more of a, not only a business-led one, but I think the language is within business terms rather than talking about networks and compute and cloud. It's actually at business level terms, which is really powerful because you can demonstrate value through technology by talking a common language.
Absolutely agree. Rob, thank you so much for your time today. This has
Pleasure.
been wonderful to hear your perspective.
No problem. Thank you.